There's a reason this kind of thing is left to you. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of What's Up Mainframe. I have another exciting guest today, Veet. Welcome, Veet.
Hello, Zach. Nice to be with you.
Veet, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I'm an architect in the DevOps value stream in Broadcom. I work on our Visual Studio Code extensions, which come in a pack. We call it Code for Z. And maybe for my background, I spent about a decade working on Mainframe doing assembler development for one of the CA products at the time, right after college. Then I left for some years. I worked on distributed in a startup. And when our company got acquired, I was approached by friends from Broadcom who are looking for someone who knew the mainframe and knew the new tech stack about Visual Studio Code and web technologies and everything. And I said, well, this is exactly what I've been doing. So it was an ideal match, and I'm excited that we're working on these things.
Excellent. Yeah, you certainly bring both worlds and help us with the experience in Code for Z, especially from the distributed point of view. And of course, we have our arguments about that, like we had just a couple hours ago, but that's what happens between product owners and
prioritization, right?
And prioritization, exactly. All right, well, in any case, to get started today, I want to jump into Code for Z. Obviously, in some of the earlier episodes, we've talked about specific extensions. But one of the powerful aspects of Code for Z, and it's part of some extensions, we'll get to that, is the whole idea of language servers or support for certain languages. So can you tell us a little bit about language server protocol and what we're doing around that space?
Yeah. So I think it would be best to start with Visual Studio Code. It is a lightweight editor and IDE from Microsoft. And when they wanted to add support for different languages, they thought it would be a tedious task to add support for all of the languages. So they designed a protocol where anybody can come in and add support for their languages.
Okay.
And what we're doing here at Broadcom is we're adding support for mainframe-specific languages like COBOL, Assembler, Rex, JCL. And that's what the language server protocol allows us to do.
Excellent. So when we're talking about these mainframe languages and what we do with Code for Z, so what does that exactly give the developer when they're working with, say, COBOL elements?
Yeah, that's a great question. Language server protocol and language servers that we are building allow the developer to get smart editor, something that every developer coming out of college is used to for Java or C++, syntax highlighting, code completions, navigation, all sorts of things that you just expect for given. And we are giving it to the hands of mainframe developers so that they are supported with mainframe languages, like any other platform with its languages.
Excellent. And obviously, when you compare this to working in the mainframe, I mean, it's night and day.
Well, it depends who you ask.
Okay.
So if you ask a career mainframer, the 3270 emulator and ISPF, it's like an extension of their hands, and they know everything to do there. It's a very powerful environment. But for the newer guys coming to the platform, whether it's from college or from changing careers and coming from distributed, this is something they already know and they can get productive with very quickly. So that's one aspect of it. Another aspect is when now we have these new languages coming to the mainframe, like Go or Python, which are becoming very popular, and even career mainframers. Now we talk to many of them, and they prefer to use VS Code precisely because you get all of these features, and it's more natural to edit this kind of code compared to ISPF. Because in ISPF you have fixed columns, and these newer languages are not tailored to that, unlike COBOL or Assembler.
Definitely, yeah. I like that distinction. It's in the hands versus it's really on the screen in front of the user.
I think that's what it is, right? It's
Yeah.
like a craftsman has a chisel, right? We've got a keyboard and our environment, and yeah, that's it.
Certainly. So tell me about our specific extensions in Code for Z. So what are we, you mentioned at the beginning, but let's talk about each of them. So high-level assembler.
Yes.
Okay. And then what else?
We have support for JCL,
Okay.
for Rex, and obviously the most desired one and most used one, COBOL.
Is COBOL. And Tell me about COBOL, because as I understand COBOL, I'm by no means a COBOL developer or anything, but I know there are different flavors of COBOL, or some people even say dialects. So how does that factor into the language server protocol, and what we're doing and maybe what other people are doing?
So with our extension for COBOL, we're focusing on the IBM Enterprise COBOL. That's one of the many dialects that exist out there. But we also added support for what's called preprocessors. And that's something slightly different than a dialect of a COBOL language. So we've worked with some clients over the past 2 years to enable support for their specific preprocessors for COBOL. So we are supporting DB2 and Kix, that's a standard stack. We support IDMS, which is a database that's made by Broadcom, and it has its own preprocessor for COBOL. We also created APIs that a third party can use to build support for their own preprocessor for COBOL. And as I said, we've worked with some clients over the past 2 years, and they are utilizing it to support their preprocessor in their environment, and are still able to use our extension to get all the smartness of the editor, like navigation, code completion, yada, yada, yada.
Excellent. And this is one of the beauties of the fact that Code4Z is open source. And so it's very much a community effort to bolster what our extensions effectively do.
Yeah, over the 4, maybe 5 years now, we've gotten a lot of input from many people and many companies in our open source repository, whether it was feature requests, bug reports, or code contributions. And we encourage more. So if you are interested in bettering the COBOL support in Visual Studio Code and modern editors, please get in touch with us, and we'll be happy to work with you.
Excellent. Yeah. It's kind of fun to take advantage of all the cameras as we do this. So just in kind of closing, where do you see us moving forward with language support in Code4Z? Are there other languages that people are asking about, and what are you excited about in this space?
Well, we're making the extensions better and better every day. The thing I'm most excited about is actual adoption. We've seen the beginning of this year, like adoption skyrocketed, and we've got more and more clients, getting interested in this kind of environments, and that's what excites me a lot. But also there is a gap in our portfolio that we've been looking at over the years. We've heard from few people in the past, but recently we talked with some significant customers that would like us to add support for PL1. So that's something we are considering at the moment. Actually, I just got this book delivered to me today from the US.
Ready to jump right in.
Exactly.
Excellent. Well, this is great. This is a great call for action for people who watch this and want to see either increased support in what we already have, the extensions part of Code4Z, or even new extensions in the future.
Yeah, and if you are interested in PL1 support, and you know PL1 or you have PL1 code, let us know, and we'll be happy to work with you.
Thanks again, V, so much for being here today and talking us through what we're doing with language server protocols in Code4Z with the extensions, and also what the future of the space looks like. Can we actually jump in and have a demo of COBOL LS?
Absolutely. Let's do that.
Excellent.
This is a Visual Studio Code-like environment running in one of our cloud instances. It looks the same and works the same as Visual Studio Code Desktop, with the exception that it is accessed through a browser, and we are using this particular environment for our client workshops. Let me start by opening a COBOL program. As you can see, by default, VS Code does not recognize it and marks it as plain text. That is because COBOL support is not part of VS Code and has to be added through an extension. And that is exactly what the COBOL Language Support extension from the Code4Z pack does. It helps VS Code to understand COBOL and provides all the capabilities you expect from a modern IDE. Let's take a look at how to install it. I move my mouse over the extensions icon in the VS Code activity bar on the left and click on it. As you can see, I already have a number of extensions installed, and to find another one, I type Broadcom into the edit box above, and it will show me all the extensions that Broadcom has published to the VS Code marketplace. And the third from the top is the COBOL Language Support.
I have it already installed but temporarily disabled. Let's see what happens when I turn it on. As you can see, the source code gets immediately highlighted, and the program is properly recognized as COBOL. On the right-hand side, you can see what is called a minimap. It's a bird's eye view of the whole program to get a visual sense of its structure and be able to move quickly to a particular location. For example, I know this program has an evaluate statement at the bottom. I can visually find it in the minimap and click on it. And here it is. Now imagine this is a big evaluate that has many statements under every when condition, and it goes for many pages. I can move my cursor to the left next to the line number and click on the down arrowhead symbol. It will collapse the when condition. I can also collapse the whole evaluate and also an if statement if I need to. Let's go back to the evaluate. Sometimes I'm looking for a particular when condition, but I do not remember exactly what it looks like. To see all the when conditions at a glance, I shift-click on the down arrowhead of the evaluate statement. This collapses all the when conditions, and I can expand the one I'm interested in. When I click somewhere in the editor, the cursor is moved there, and the line at the top of the editor is updated with the current location of the cursor within the program. This is called the breadcrumbs, and here you can see I'm inside a procedure division in a paragraph called update accumulator. To see the other divisions and paragraphs, I can go to the File Explorer and open the outline view. I will make it bigger and collapse the data division, which contains all the field definitions, and here I can see all the paragraphs of my program, and I can click to quickly navigate among them. Let's go back to the update accumulator. If I want to know how a particular data field is defined, I place my cursor over it, and VS Code shows a hover with the field definition. Here I can see that the INP adopted amount is a level 5 field defined as pic93 inside a level 1 structure called adopted docs record. Oftentimes, I'm interested in all the places a particular field is used. To see that, I right-click on the field name and select Peak References. Now I can see all the references to this field inside of this program, starting with the current reference highlighted. I can quickly move among them, including the field definition in a copybook. If I would like to change the definition, I can double-click right here. Or I can right-click on the field name and select Go to Definition. Here I can change the field name, for example, to INR, adopted amount, and as soon as I do that, the program gets reanalyzed and turns red because the field INP adopted amount no longer exists. Let's revert the change and close the copybook. What we have done so far was all about navigation. Now let's take a look at editing. As soon as I start typing, I get a list of suggestions from autocomplete. If I press Ctrl space, I get additional information about a selected suggestion. And pressing a tab key will accept the suggestion. Similarly, I get suggestions for field names. All of this and more is provided by the COBOL Language Support extension. And in case you would like to see more, stay tuned for another episode of What's Up Mainframe.
Can I have a look? It's just PL1, PLI? People say PLI, but it's PL1, right? Roman numeral?
Yeah.
Okay, well, in any case, can't even get the name right. Let's see if I can even do anything with it. Yeah. There's a reason this kind of thing is left to you.